Alright, so we're here today with our BMPro tablet out of our 2021 Jayco North Point. We see an issue here that is pretty common when it comes to these tablets. You'll see the BMPro screen boot up and kind of flash back off. So after kind of looking over the internet and everything else, and I'm sure if you're here at this video you've already looked around as well, pretty common failure point for these is the battery. So what we're going to be doing today is actually replacing the battery in this tablet. We picked up one off Amazon. I'll drop a link below, and we'll also talk about the sizes of it, further along in the video, and I'll share a couple of others that I believe will fit. So first things first, we got to get it opened up. I'm gonna power it down or remove the power source so that we don't have any power on it while we're working on it, and remove any potential for it to shock us or to damage any electronics inside. So if you look really closely, I don't know if you can tell on the video, but there is a seam right here where the screen actually connects to the remainder of the tablet. So what we're going to do is take a push pin and work our way in there, kind of start it separating. So you see there we kind of got it in, and we'll just kind of gently work it around till we can get it separated enough to get our screwdriver in. I have to try a different spot. Okay, there we go. So you can see we got it started there, and we'll just work our way around it, not prying too much, just basically twisting the screwdriver until we get it to pop loose all the way around. Alright, so you can see here, got the back plate off, and what you see now is kind of what we're going to be working on. This is the battery, so you can see kind of the wires going to and from the little speaker and the camera, and then also right here you've got the actual wires that go to the battery, and they are soldered onto this board. Now, myself, along with probably most of you, are not going to be familiar with soldering. So I am somewhat familiar with it, but I am not proficient at it at all. So what we're going to do is first remove the battery, which seems to be just taped on here in a few different spots. Gotta be careful not to damage these other wires. Not that they're really used for anything in our application, but still, we don't want to damage them. So it seems that the battery is probably glued in. Let's see if we can't get that. Yeah. So there is some glue on the back of the battery when you go to remove it, and that's what's holding the battery in place. Gonna have to take something, in our case, and try to work it out. Now it does have this metal plate, so it should protect anything else from being damaged, hopefully, in this process. Wow. And all we're doing is just working around the battery, prying it up. Alright, so now we've got it up. You can see the metal plate that it's glued to. And when we remove this tape, you're going to see the rest of the wires go into the battery. Now this battery, when you pull it out, is going to feel soft and squishy. Now our replacement battery is similar in size, but it is not exact. And we'll go over dimensions like I said earlier. It is very, very close. It's not quite exact. So it should not cause us an issue, but if you are concerned about it, I'll include a couple of other options as far as the battery replacement goes. Now when we look at this battery, you know, it's going to have to fit in the same space that the other one did. You can see this one is right there at it. Fits very, very tightly. There are some others that are a little bit smaller, and if you're a little bit concerned about it, then feel free to order one of the other options that are a little bit smaller. Now this one is a 3.7 volt. It is a 3000 milliamp hour, where the one that comes out of it is a 3.7 volt and a 2500 milliamp hour. Just has a little bit more capacity in the one that we're installing. Now, kind of back to where we were talking about soldering the wires. Since these wires are soldered into the board, I don't feel personally comfortable with soldering wires to a board. So what I'm going to do is snip these wires so that I've got plenty of extra wire that I can use later on, that is already made up to the board, and we're just going to connect the wires together. You see this one comes with a little clip. We're going to take it off here in just a second and make this where we can just connect those two wires together and repower the unit and see if we fixed our problem. So our next step is going to be to cut these two wires and strip them back so that we can use them. Alright, so we're going to take our snips, and we're going to, like I said earlier, we're going to want as much wire as we can get. So we're going to cut this tape and get over here this extra little bit of wire, and we're going to cut those off. And then we are going to strip these back. You want to leave yourself, and this is a very, very, very small wire. And I don't really have a pair of smaller than a 20 gauge. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, so now that we got our wires stripped back, you can see put it up here a little bit closer to the camera so you can see our wires stripped back, maybe a 1/4 inch or so, not too far. I'm going to do the same thing with our new battery. So we're going to cut those, cut this connector off. We could, had I thought about it, put a connector on it so that this would be an easier swap at some point in the future. But I didn't think about it. And you may not have the tools needed to do that job. So I'm gonna make sure again we cut plenty of wire back, strip it back so we got plenty to work with. Okay. All right, so we got plenty to work with here. Now, first thing we're gonna do is make an attempt to just connect these wires with nothing, no solder, nothing on it, and see if we have successfully solved our issue first. So we're just going to take and we're going to twist these wires together, being careful not to touch them. We're going to make sure that we don't touch them. And then we're going to see, using these little buttons right here, that are the buttons for the screen, if we've solved our problem. And that's assuming that the battery actually has juice in it. Alright, so sorry about that. We had to get the battery pack plugged back in, but we've got our new battery in and we've got it plugged up to our power supply, and you can see that the screen is booting up. So we'll let it go through its boot sequence, and then we'll finish out the repair and complete installation on the battery, just so you guys can see what it's doing. Sorry about it being upside down, but it just happens to be where it ended up being. So you can see, we're booted up. Now we are at home. We're not connected to we're not local to the camper, but you can see our screen is booting back up. So we fixed the boot problem. We just got to finish out the repair. So here in just a minute, we should see our, actual screen come back on. I think it may not because it's not close to the node. There you go. So again, common problem with these BMPro tablets, going through the boot cycle all the time. Battery fix this one. Your mileage may vary, but we're going to go through, finish installing the battery, soldering everything up, and then we're going to, install it back in the camper. Alright, so finish out this repair. Sorry, things are getting a little messy here. We got some shrink tubing here. This is the smallest that I've got. I'm not sure what size it is, but it's fairly close. We're going to put it back on the wires so that we're able to, shrink it back on whenever we finish making our connection to protect the connections. Now we're going to twist our connections in line. So there's a few different ways to do this. Some people feather out the connections and then try to intertwine them. I'm gonna do, because you you want basically a surface to solder. So I'll do my best, and again, I'm not a controls or board repair guy, so I'm not very proficient with what I'm doing, but I'm going to try to make a connection there, and then another connection here with the ground, or the neutral, I should say, I guess, the negative side, and get it to where we can solder them somewhat efficiently. Maybe better just make this connection and then make this other one, so I'm not any better at it than this. So we've got kind of both of our wires there together. We're going to get our soldering iron set up so that we can make this connection, and we'll be right back. Alright, so we are back with our soldering iron. And what we're going to do here is try to heat up our joint and just drop a little bit of solder on it. Like I said, I'm not a soldering guy. So I feel like we got a pretty decent connection there. Now, see if we can't do the same. Alright. So we're gonna, oh yeah, those two feel pretty good. So we're gonna take it, first things first, let this cool off, put it somewhere where it'll get cool without damaging anything. And we will take our shrink wrap and we will slide it over the connection, just like so. And then we'll go take a heat gun and we will shrink that fitting. So we're basically done, other than just reassembling everything, doing the shrink wrap or heating up the shrink wrap. You know, we talked earlier about size. Now, this is a little bit higher capacity battery. It fits, or doesn't fit, quite between the little speaker and this corner right here. So you do have to force this one in just a little bit. It's not bad, but it does have to force in. So now with us not having the glue and stuff on there, and really we don't use the speaker, I was more interested in having the extra capacity in the tablet so that hopefully I don't have to do this again for a while. There are some smaller batteries. You can see we got plenty of room here, and you're really tight on the width. Now, I'm gonna go grab a pair of calipers and we're gonna measure these and gonna, you know, tell you the dimensions and give you some other options in the links below so that you can make your own decision on what size you want to have inside your, inside your tablet. I felt like the little bit of extra capacity was worth the tight fit, especially since we don't use it. It's just mounted in our, in our camper. But we will take a look at it, and I'll compare the measurements versus the description on Amazon and give you a couple other options as well. Alright, so our battery is listed as 92 millimeters long, 70 wide, and 4 thick. Now, in English units, that is going to be approximately 2.832 inches wide. So you could probably get by with about 2 3/4. Then we're roughly almost 3.5 inches long. And about 150 thousandths thick. So, really the width is where, we're tight. Length is fine. So, we're a little over 2.8 inches wide, 2.825 or so, 2.83. So, you could get by with a 2 3/4 inch wide battery easily, and you could even opt for one that was a little bit longer. So again, plenty of options. I'll drop a few in the links below, and you can kind of make your own decision, and I'll let you guys know which ones I think will fit. This is probably the tightest one, which I wanted to kind of show a worst case and that it could fit. It is snug, but it will fit. So we're gonna finish up and go ahead and shrink these shrink wraps. Gonna get everything buttoned back up and get it ready to install. But essentially, we're not gonna worry about gluing this back down. We're just gonna put the cover back on it since it is going in our mounted in our camper. But like always, appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe. Any purchases made from the links, all that stuff helps. And we'd love to bring you more content, and the likes, the subscription, the questions, comments, we appreciate all that. The purchases, all that stuff helps us bring you more content. And like always, we appreciate you watching Mud and Rust Workshop, and we're hope to see you soon. Alright, so we're back, getting everything going back through a boot sequence. We just want to check everything now that we've got everything buttoned up. You can see we got the cover back on, everything fit, and we are back to getting our screen booted back up. So everything went well. Got 62% battery. I did show you guys earlier that this thing, it didn't really work with just the battery. I had to have it hooked up to the power supply, which we have one in our camper. You should have one as well. So just something to kind of be aware of. I don't know if I was hitting the wrong button or what, but it didn't work until I hooked the power up to it. But again, battery, 17 bucks I think from Amazon. There's probably some others that are cheaper, but it did fix our issue, and we are back. Of course, I'm disconnected from the camper, but we do have our screen back and should be able to put it back in, and everything worked for us. So again, thank you guys for watching.